Yo, 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 welcome to Hard Pass. I am your host, Jacques Slade. It's the show that is kind of amazed by this full color footage of the Sunset Strip in Los Angeles from 1963. And that twist ending? Dude on the wheel was probably checking if his hot takes about my then five-time world champion Los Angeles Lakers went viral. Let's start with some hot takes. We here at Hard Pass are not fond of gender reveals, mostly because they've taken something that we feel is a private thing that should be solely the business of the parents and turned it into a whole attempt to get internet likes. Not to mention that sometimes they get real stupid and dangerous. But I have to give credit to the recent one where they used the paint from the reveal and turned it into custom Air Force Ones. That's pretty cool and creative, and it's something they can share with the kid in time. So the moral of the story is make it about the kid and not about you trying to be cool online. So Coach Mack Brown of North Carolina wanted us to rate his drip. Okay, sure, I'll give his Jordan player exclusives the roof because that's the ceiling according to MJ. Coach Brown's overall drip, that's gonna be hard to say. I mean, when your old basketball coach does things like this, that's like the 2 roofs, maybe even 3, you know what I mean? It might be the offseason for the Brooklyn Nets, but Kevin Durant is in championship mode on Twitter after he blasted Scottie Pippen for most of the critiques the Hall of Famer made about his game. Look, I know the league and people who weirdly care about TV ratings wanted to see a Brooklyn Lakers final, but I'll take this matchup between KD and Scottie any day of the week, even if it's only in GQ profiles and Twitter replies. Speaking about the GQ profile, Scottie speaks a lot of truth in that piece. Shout out to Tyler Tynes for that one. I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but I think it's time we ignore midlife crisis hair and attempts to dress like Coach Mack Brown and recognize Scottie as one of the true GOATs of his game, and that Michael Jordan needed Scottie as much as Scottie needed Michael. Oh, and we need a retro of the Air Pippen 2 ASAP Nike. Come on. Jordan Brand recently unveiled a photo shoot they did earlier this year featuring their current WNBA athletes and the boss, Michael Jordan. It's a cool shoot and all, but did they have to make it look like MJ was like a proud grandpa and those were all of his grandkids? Like, are there outtakes or possibly a commercial where they're all on the basketball court and the ladies are giving Jordan crap because the retros are so hard to buy? Jeez. The Nintendo 64 turned 25 this... Really? 25 years old? Man, where does the time go when you're trying to murder your friends with blue shells and golden guns? Anyways, the Nintendo 64 has a very polarizing reputation in the gaming world. On one side, you've got people who contend the 64 was Nintendo's weakest console and set the company back a decade before rebounding with the Wii and eventually the Switch. On the other side, you've got people with friends. Seriously, it's a point I never really thought about until I saw this tweet by Jeremy Parrish, who said that as the N64 celebrates 25 years of multiplayer-focused design today, you can really tell who had friends and who did it by how fondly they regard the system. And it's really a good point. The Nintendo 64 was the console of choice if you had friends over to play and you were all hunched up and fighting over who got the Nintendo branded controllers for players 1, 2, and maybe 3, and who got the cheap Fugazi Mad Catz ones that you only bought because you needed it for player 4. The PlayStation 1 had the superior single player games for sure, and it was ultimately more influential, but the N64 was, as the box described, the fun machine. And before you Sony fanboys come for me, yes, the PS1 had great multiplayer games too. It was just easier to get together at the dorm and try to take each other out and Smash Brothers, that's all. So let's count down our picks for the top 10 Nintendo 64 games of all time, as chosen by, yes, co-writer, because once again, he has veto power over this list. Now, before we get to the top 10, here's 25 through 11 because co-writer had some extra free time on his hands to think about this. NFL Blitz 2000, Doom 64, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Mario Tennis, Donkey Kong 64, Resident Evil 2, NBA Hang Time, Paper Mario, Diddy Kong Racing, Mario Golf, WCW vs. NWO Revenge, Banjo-Kazooie, Star Fox 64, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Mortal Kombat Trilogy, and an honorable mention to the Pokemon games. We respect Stadium, Stadium 2, Snap, and Puzzle League, but Pokemon was a Game Boy thing in that era. Number 10, Beatle Adventure Racing. I'll be fair, I don't know what game this is. I'm just reading the teleprompter. In the era of licensed games being absolute dog shit, this racing game that features nothing but Volkswagen Beetles was a revelation. While every other racer took you on a linear path, Beetle Adventure Racing had you looking for secret boxes and hidden passages across giant maps that really lived up to the adventure part of the title. It was a precursor to the Forza Horizons of today that are less racing sims and more open world madness where you can do whatever. Number 9, Perfect Dark. We know it's hearsay in some circles, but we'll say it. Perfect Dark is fundamentally a better game than a title that we all know will definitely be in the top 5. It just had the misfortune of being the spiritual sequel to said game and showing up at a time when the 64's life cycle was dwindling down. It's a critical darling, and we certainly had a lot of fun playing it, but there was just a little bit of magic and whimsy that was missing with this one that was present in the OG. We'll talk about it later. Number 8, Blast Corps. Like Beatle Adventure Racing, the beauty of Blast Corps wasn't the straight line of causing X amount of wreckage at X amount of time so your nuclear missile carrier could travel safely through the level, but the myriad of ways you could cause X amount of wreckage in X amount of time. It's a very tense game, especially if you play it now after playing games that are super forgiving and often try to hold your hand. But the satisfaction of replaying a level and finding ways to shave seconds off your time is so worth the sweaty palms. Number 7, Super Smash Bros. The Smash games have become so popular that other game companies are more than willing to let their characters appear as guests to fight Mario and Peach and Kirby. But the original with just Nintendo characters had this special kind of chaos, especially during those summer months when you had nothing better to do than to hang out with your friends and throw down in the game and then get into heated arguments as to who gets to play the GOAT. And that would be Kirby. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Number 6, Mario Party. If you had an N64 back in the days, you probably remember that the analog stick was the flimsiest thing in the world and had to be protected at all times, or else it would start to tilt in one direction. Pretty sure Mario Party was the game that caused most of those controllers to go bad from all the goofy minigames that forced you to move the sticks in ways they were not meant to be moved. And pity the poor kid who had to use those old trashy third-party controllers. Jeez. Number 5, WWF No Mercy. It's sad that most gamers consider this the greatest wrestling game of all time to this day, right? The graphics are mind-numbingly painful to look at today, but the gameplay still holds up, especially compared to the glitch fest that are WWE 2K games. And sure, you could try to play those 2K games online, but you can't match the fun of having 3 other buddies with you arguing over who gets to be The Rock. Number 4, Mario Kart 64. You know, you can tell who your real friends are and who will stab you in the back with the first chance they get by simply playing this game. How? Make an agreement not to use a red shell or a blue shell on the last lap of Wario Stadium, especially on that last jump before the finish line. If somebody breaks that agreement and you know somebody will, it's time to throw hands for real. Or it could be some reverse psychology thing, and it turns out those people who will hit you with the blue shell at the last moment could be your best friends in the world. It's not really an effective test if you haven't noticed. And number 3, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It's the perfect game, except for the water temple. That noise. Number 2, GoldenEye 007. Okay, I'm going to ignore the prompter for this one. Co-writer has maybe the best and the worst GoldenEye story. When he played multiplayer with his friends in middle school, they would tape together pieces of cardboard in a T-shape and stick it to the tiny CRT TVs so they couldn't see each other's part of the screen. Did it work? Kind of. Is it maybe the dorkiest thing I've ever heard? Quite possibly. Do I wish I would have thought of that with my friends instead of, hitting each other's controllers and accusing each other of screen watching? Absolutely. And number 1, Super Mario 64. Most casual fans probably look back at Mario 64 as the first 3D game, but that's not the case. 3D games had actually been around for a few years prior, but Mario 64 was the one that nailed the controls on navigating the space. Sure, you wouldn't want to go back to those controllers now. Hi, C buttons, you were weird. But we had to start somewhere. And with Mario 64 being the template, things could only get better from there, except for Super Mario Sunshine. That game is trash. By the way, this list, all 25 of them and a few more my co-writer has in mind, would make a great collection of games for the eventual Nintendo 64 Mini. It'll happen in the next few years. Bank on that. It's the Heat Check, where we bring you everything that's dropping this week. Looks like the brands are kind of staying away from the 4th of July weekend, with the release dates being a little on the short side, which makes sense. People are going to be out as the country opens up even more, and the last thing I want to do is wait by my phone on a Saturday morning to catch an L on Sneakers app. Don't even ask me about lining up, because I don't do that. Nike Dunk High Game Royal on the 29th from 110. Is it okay that I can't tell the difference between this Game Royal High and the Kentucky Varsity Royal from last year? Yes it is, and you shouldn't be ashamed of it too. It's not like it's University Blue or anything actually cool like that. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Reebok Question Megazord on the 29th from 180. It's part of the larger Power Rangers pack that will bring together all of the Rangers to form the Megazord or something. I don't know, I was more of a Voltron kid growing up, but if I find out that Allen Iverson was a big Power Rangers fan growing up, I will be all over these. Nike LeBron 18, best 10 to 18, June 30th for 200. Did not expect these, to be honest. I wonder why Nike didn't just do a what the, and one shoe could have been the best 1 through 9 and the other shoe would have been the best 10 through 18. Interesting move there, and maybe they didn't want it to be overshadowed by the what the Paul dunks. Women's Air Jordan 6 gold hoops, July 1st for 190. An homage to gold hoop earrings. It's a super clean pair of 6s that I think will be quite popular in the summer months, just like the other super clean pair of J's that are dropping this week as well. New Balance Kawhi, new money on the 1st for 160. A more abstract take on the money stacks themes that we found on the New Balance Omnis. I've got to give it to New Balance for being really creative with the color schemes for Kawhi. Just like I hope AI is a secret Power Rangers fan. I really wish Kawhi is like the low-key fun guy who just hangs out at the Pantone offices and likes helping picking out what should be the color of the year. And then for the pick of the week is the Air Jordan 4 Tech White on the 3rd for 190. Originally called the White Oreo, this will be yet another summertime favorite with a clean white upper. It's not on the level of the white cement 4s, of course, but I wouldn't be surprised to see these on plenty of feet instead of the white cement retro from a few years ago. And also, you can check out my unboxing. And now for a heat check on the upcoming Off-White Air Jordan 2 by Virgil Abloh. At first glance, the shoes are like a greatest hits compilation of Virgil's trademark embellishments. You've got the zip tags, the slightly yellowed sail white and frayed edges, the exposed foam, and with every greatest hits album, you obviously have to throw in some new tracks in there so it doesn't look like a total cash in, like an MJ printed signature and cracked midsole to give it that whole vintage looks. It's an off-white shoe, no doubt, but do we really want this? I mean, the Air Jordan 2 is divisive. You know what? Let's just say it. Compare the Air Jordan 1, the 3, the 4, the 5, and the 6, and everything else MJ wore during his Bull days, the 2 suck. That's not to say making an unconventional basketball shoe that used premium materials with minimal branding was a bad idea. In fact, doing away with the swoosh and using the Wings logo was a precursor to the Air Jordan 3 and what we know as Jordan Brand today. But Michael Jordan did not like them. Kids didn't like them. Parents who bought the shoes for their kids did not like their stickier price of $100 compared to $65 for ones. But to be fair, 65 back then is 162 today, adjusted for inflation, but man, let's fantasize for a second about being able to buy ones for less than $100 and seeing them on clearance racks. Man, if anything's going to motivate me to build a temp pad that lets me move around apocalypses and shoe sales with ease, it's going to be me dropping cash money at the old school athlete's foot and grabbing all the J's that I can. Well, not all the J's, the 2s can stay there. Anyways, Michael was not a fan of the 2s, which led him to wear the 1s during his injury-plagued second season. The 2s were so bad that it was believed to be one of the reasons Michael wanted to leave Nike after just 3 years. It would take MJ's parents and a killer Air Jordan 3 designed by Tinker Hatfield to keep Jordan from moving on to another brand. But the damage to the reputation of the 2s was done, and its hated on status, well, it's endured. That's not to say the Air Jordan 2 did not have fans. Like I said in last week's show, Billie Eilish is carving out her own space in Jordan Brand, working on silhouettes no one else wants to. Now that I think about it, I wonder if Billie thought the 2 was too mainstream for her and she went with the Jordan 1 KO instead. Anyways, whether they appreciated the craftsmanship or just wanted to be different, the Jordan 2 does have a strong, if silent, following. You might see someone post a pair of 2s every so often, not just because they want to introduce a contrarian position and are above the hype, but because they actually do have a fondness for the shoes. It doesn't really do much for the 2's reputation because they are still hated on, but I appreciate the effort to make them relevant. To raise its profile, Jordan Brand has gone the celebrity route to breathe life into the 2s. Carmelo Anthony famously wore the Jordan 2 PEs during his early days in the NBA. Eminem was a famous fan of the 2s, and in 2008, Jordan Brand released a special edition of the 2s to coincide with the launch of M's book, The Way I Am. New York's Vashti Kola was brought on to bring a different touch to the Air Jordan 2 in 2010. Chicago's Don C added even more flair to the Jordan 2 in 2016 with a handful of Just Don drops that use premium materials and packaging. And now we're here with Virgil Abloh and his Off-White brand. Like it or not, sick of it or still hyped for it, Off-White and Nike have proven to be a winning combination. See the hype for the upcoming 50 Dear Summer Off-White Nike Dunks and the sneakers we'll be talking about in the next segment for proof. But I would say that the Off-White Air Jordan 2 is their biggest test yet. Not because I don't think the shoes will sell out and sit on shelves like Vapor Streets. On the contrary, I think they will sell out and command a premium price at resale. But the real question is, when Jordan Brand decides to retro the 2s in a major way again, will the Off-White 2s lead fans to buy the regular 2s? Will the 2s grow on them after they've seen the hype a Virgil cosign can deliver? I cannot wait to see the answer to that question in the coming months. I give the Off-White Air Jordan 2 10 zip tags out of 50 Dear Summer Dunks. All right, it's time for this week's Hard Pass, where we take a look at something in the culture that just needs to go, like wasting time trying to figure out who actually likes Air Jordan 2s. Look, here's the secret of Hard Pass. We don't actually care. Like, if you like Air Jordan 2s, good for you. If you don't like them, Great, we have something in common. If you post a comment or a stunt declaring what side you're on, cool, that gives us content to talk about on next week's episode. But if you think we spend more than 5 seconds thinking about what people actually like and don't like and declare one side corny for stunting in twos, you could not be more wrong. It's content for the show and it's fun to have a discussion about them and how they affect the sneaker culture as a whole, but if I see you out here rocking twos, I'll give you the sneakerhead nod. What will be really corny is having a full-blown argument with another adult in public about whether or not stunting in twos is ruining the culture or whatever dumbass controversy people were talking about this week. Goodness. All right, now for this week's actual hard pass. Those Louis Vuitton Nike Air Force Ones that were revealed during the luxury brand's Spring 2022 show a few days ago. After decades of fakes, customs using authentic materials and everything in between, we're finally getting an official collaboration between Nike and Louis Vuitton. Feels like this would have made a lot more sense in like a very specific time between the start of 2002 and the end of 2002, but whatever, we're here now. And the man at the center of it all is none other than Virgil Abloh. Congrats on getting 2 features on this week's episode, man. Look, that doesn't happen often unless Kanye does something amazing and weird. Honestly, it's a little bit of both when it comes to Ye. Anyways, it's hard to tell if any or all of these will actually see the light of day since spring 2022 might as well be 2052 with so many things that can change. Not to mention, there are reports that there could be as few as 21 colorways dropping, but then friend of the brand, Ivan Jasper, posted his own pictures and dropped the hashtag 100 colorways. Anything is on the table, but I think we can safely say that a Louis Vuitton and Nike partnership is happening, and it has the chance to be the most anticipated sneaker drop since maybe the Nike Air Yeezy 2. No offense to the Dior Jordan 1, but Louis Vuitton sits on a different plane when it comes to brand recognition. Okay, this is the part where people go crazy in the comments and they start flame wars between luxury brands. I'll just be over here watching and learning, but also not giving a because arguing about and caping for luxury brands and YouTube comments is the highest and most extra levels of corny. Like, if you've ever been to Rodeo Drive or South Coast Plaza like Co-Writer does on a weekly basis, you've probably seen the lines outside of the LV stores like they were on sale. But the wild thing here is, few things ever go on sale at Louis Vuitton stores. They are just that popular. And now you're adding a swoosh to the equation. It's gonna be a mess. The only thing that would top it right now is if the shoes were Dunks instead of Air Forces. So we're going to take a look at some of these Louis Vuitton Air Force Ones that were pictured and give them a hard pass seal of approval or hard pass. And I know we should have workshopped a better title for that second award, whatever. All right, let's take a look at the shoes which were discovered over at Sneaker News. Patent leather black and blue with yellow swoosh. So we're giving this a hard pass. It looks like something a knockoff Captain Marvel would wear in an effort to look cool and hip to a young Monica Rambeau. I'm not the biggest fan of patent leather sneakers in general, but I can only imagine the awkward walk sneakerheads are going to pull off trying to wear these and not crease the toe box. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I do want to see this for the meme potential. Canvas yellow and white. Hard pass, seal of approval for this one. It's a relatively basic pair of Air Force Ones, but the embossed monograms on the white leather look well made, and the subtleness of the same logos on the yellow canvas give them a classy vibe. Really, the only thing I can find that detracts from the look of the shoe is the double air call out on the midsole. I realize that's Virgil's trademark, but I think the reason they work so well on the off-white Air Force Ones is because they were monochrome and his air was used in either white or black to provide contrast. Canvas red and white, easily get the seal of approval from us. It's basically the same as the yellow and white pair, but man, wouldn't this colorway be infinitely more interesting if they went the Air Jordan 1 Chicago route and used a black swoosh? Think about it. I realize that you can actually make a pair of them right now on Nike by You, but the luxury treatment would be on a whole different level. The Demir pattern. It's a hard pass for me, but somewhere Dapper Dan is smiling and probably deserves a cut, to be fair. The use of the Demir pattern, a name I'm probably butchering, has been on countless custom sneakers and knockoffs that it's almost laughable how often they're used, and we're supposed to act like it's cool. But now that it has an official cosign, I still don't care, but I have a feeling this would be the biggest deal if they were ever released. Grim Reaper. The hardest of hard passes. How are you going to do a purple and gray hooded Grim Reaper looking dude and not just do Skeletor? Channel the power of Grayskull, you cowards. Canvas purple and white. It could just be the picture, but the shades of purple on the outsole and the upper don't match. And that kind of ruins it for me if that's the case in person. From the looks of it, we might get a Pharrell-like Supercolor one of these, which could easily run up the tally and make that Ivan Jasper hashtag a little more realistic. Conditional hard pass on these for now, I guess. White and black with metallic swoosh. Hard pass on these, mainly because I would prefer a flipped version with a black upper and white tooling. At least the contrast air call out here actually works. Chrome, black, yellow. Yeah, I'm not even going to pretend like I know what's going on here. Hard pass, obviously, but I'm guessing this will stay in the sample stage and not get an actual release. I'm sure this combination appeals to somebody, but it's just not going to be me. So there you have it. A mostly hard pass on Louis Vuitton Nike Air Force One sneakers so far, but with more colorways making their way, I'm sure we'll find something that we really want to pick up. Everybody better get their money up because these are going to be very pricey for sure. Or at least get your hating game ready, as your feeds are going to be full of leaks and early pairs and people are paying way too much to be on team early in the next few months. I'm ready. I'm always ready personally. I just hope that you're ready. Because if you ain't got to get ready, you stay ready. And that's going to do it for the show. Thank you for watching Hard Pass. I'm Jacques Slade. I'll see you next week, but not before I need your help. Like, actually, it's a very serious topic. What the hell is Jameis Winston looking at?
2, 4, 6, 1, 3, 4, 5.
All right, I'll see you next week. Peace.